Hey YouTube, how's it going? Kevin Cleary here with a knife video for you, and today we're going to be taking a look at this story on knifenews.com. This is the new CRKT models for 2018, so we're getting a very, very early sneak preview of some of the new stuff that CRKT is going to be doing next year, and that's always fun to do, and I'm sure we'll probably get some of this stuff in the not too distant future from Spyderco and Cold Steel and hopefully a few others. These are some of my favorite videos to do because I really like sort of the discussion type videos, and with that in mind, I would love to hear your thoughts. I'd love to hear when you disagree with me, when you agree with me, what you're kind of thinking about most of these knives in general. The two things I want to say to start off with is you're going to notice a fair number of knives with this field strip technology, and I like the idea of the field strip technology, and CRKT seems to have done a pretty decent job of it. My fear when I first saw it was that these are going to be sloppy blades with a lot of play, and that has not been the case, and hopefully that remains to be true, that they're able to pull these off without getting, you know, a lot of what would you say, loose tolerances happening. And if that's true, then I think this will be really, really cool and is a nice innovation. I still don't think they're using it to the best of their ability though. Take this knife, for example, which looks an awful lot like a Microtech Sigil. However, it's got this Wharncliffe blade, which is a really cool, aggressive looking Wharncliffe blade, but wouldn't it be awesome if you could just pop that out and put in a Tanto blade or a drop point blade? I think that's the real strength of this technology, and they don't seem to want to use it that way, which is a little unfortunate. The other thing that the story starts off with is by saying they've got a bunch of new designers, so get ready for some names you're used to and maybe some you haven't heard before. The first knife that they list is one that I actually love the design on. It's a Jasper Voxnäs design. So generally I do find myself drawn to the simplicity and just kind of smoothness of his designs. And this one is no exception. There's a couple of things that put me off, and well, actually there's one thing that puts me off, and that is the steel. The 1.4116 steel. I'm not a fan. It's probably fine, and maybe I'll get a knife in that steel purposely just to kind of check it out. But you know, it would have been nicer to see this in AUS 8 or even 8CR, 9CR, 14 MOV, something like that. I know, you know, you're not going to get something good, you know, in terms of, you know, I wish they would go to 14C28N. That's all I'm going to say. I'm going to stop with the steel stuff for now. Just know you're going to see a bunch of budget steels here, and what can you do? Okay, so 3.3-inch blade. I love this design. I like the implementation of field strip technology. Looks like a win, but again, we'll see. Hollow grind by the look of the picture, and again, we'll have to see in full production whether that happens. But yeah, definitely the HVAS, the Havas, if you're supposed to pronounce it, it looks like the kind of thing you're just supposed to give the acronym for. Looks like a good design. Hopefully it's well implemented. Next up, now this was interesting to me. This is the Rakiri, and I hope I'm pronouncing that right. It definitely looks like a Microtech Sigil, no question, but there are a couple cool things about this. 3.7-inch blade, so pretty big knife we're dealing with here. I might have to check this one out even with the 1.4116 blade steel, which is a little annoying, but I am curious. It's nice and big, it's got a cool Wharncliffe blade, and so yeah, I may have to check this guy out, even though, you know, I do think there's a little borrowing going on. The Gokin. Here is a James Williams design. I like James Williams designs. He's done quite a few for CRKT. My favorite, of course, is the Otonashi no Ken, which I think is a great knife. If you have never tried one, even if you don't love it, I think it's worth trying because they are really, really cool. And this is along those lines, likely smaller. The Otonashi no Ken was a big knife. This is probably smaller, and I'm not seeing a blade length listed here, but I do see the field strip technology. Once again, it's kind of cool to be able to take the knife apart, but I wish you could switch that blade out for, you know, maybe a more drop point or spear point style blade. I just think it would be kind of interesting. Here is an old kind of classic design rebooted. This is a Pak Crawford design from 1979, and it uses what's called the Crawford lockback mechanism, which is, you can see it's sort of a spring arm, sort of like the Spyderco that came out last year, and it falls into a notch in the back of the blade. So pretty cool design. Even reminds me maybe a little bit of the AD15 from Andrew Demko. Of course, both of those, the other two knives I mentioned, would be much, much more expensive than this. So kind of an interesting, very simplified design. you know, it's not something that I'm going to run out and buy, but I do like to see sort of some innovative efforts happening. Here's a knife that kind of makes me think of the Kershaw Shuffle in 2.5 inch blade, 5CR, 15 MOV. You know, again, budget steel. I'm sure it's a budget knife, and that's why they're going with a cheaper steel. This one doesn't really do much for me. It's too small. The design is kind of interesting, and I could see maybe using it as a backup knife or something along those lines. Now, this one's a little more interesting. This is the Terrestrial. It's an ox design. Yeah, as I said, interesting knife, 3.35 inch, great big finger choil up there. I've got to say, though, this knife kind of feels like a Wii knife to me. It looks, you know, maybe I'm just imagining things, guys, but this looks an awful lot like the little Wii knife. I can't think of the number, maybe the 605 that has been out for a couple of years now. Not that it's a bad knife design, of course, but, you know, I don't know. Be nice to see some creativity here. IKBS flipper, it says, what's the blade length? 3.35 inch. So even though it does seem to be borrowing a little, at least, you know, take some styling cues, if nothing else, this might be a knife I'd like to check out because of that larger size, and I do like that finger choil. What's the steel on this guy? This guy, 8CR 13 MOV. Again, a budget steel. G10 scales, though, which I do appreciate. So this one, guys, I'm kind of interested in. It looks like a hollow grind as well, which, again, I do prefer. Let's see, the Willawaw, maybe. Willawaw. Okay, let's go with that, by Jim Hammond design. Again, interesting approach. Looks to be, okay, I could be wrong, looks to be a stainless steel frame lock. Got some interesting sort of milling happening there on the handle. And maybe CRKT is kind of responding to, you know, this is the one thing I think is missing here. They have done a great job with their stainless steel frame locks. You know, the Carniflex, the Pilar, the Remedy, what's the one from Jasper Voxnäs this year? There's a longer one. Anyway, a bunch of good knives that are done in stainless steel frame locks. This one's kind of a departure, but hopefully it still works out for them. This knife, I don't know, it doesn't speak to me all that much. It seems like the blade is too small for the handle, and sometimes those kinds of things can put me off. Hopefully it's well done. Another 8CR 13 MOV. What do we got here? This is a 3.3 inch 8CR 13 MOV knife. This looks a lot like the Wii Battleship. Like, check out the fuller and the way they've got the thumb groove there. You know, this one really feels, again, like a Wii knife to me. The Radic. I don't love it. It also reminds me a little bit of a Trezola design. Which, you know, is fine. You know, Bob Trezola is a great knife designer, very cool knives, but they often don't have styling that I'm in love with, and I don't really get too excited about this one. What is next? The Caligo 3.1 inch. Well, right there, it's kind of too short for me. 8CR 13 MOV again. Don't hate the design. It looks like it can't decide whether it wants a recurve or not, and of course it's going to be that, you know, cheaply painted black coating on the blade, which is always a little off-putting to me. Let's see. Yeah, 3.1 inches. Nothing here that really gets me excited. Now, the next two knives I have looked at quite a bit, the Quattro and the Maven. Okay, these two designs are from Richard Rogers, very well-known designer. Very sort of straightforward EDC kind of knives. I really like the simple styling on these. Let's see if they're both flippers. 3.6 inches of 3.2 inch blade. Yeah, that's a little short for me. But you know what? These knives with their simplicity, and I kind of like both of these designs, so I may have to actually check these out. And the bottom one, oh no, that's the new M16. Anyway, so yeah, these are knives that I wouldn't mind checking out. The steel is not amazing, but I do really like both of these designs. So may try to get my hands on these, even though they're a little smaller than I normally like. And I know a couple of you guys have been asking for some smaller knives to be reviewed, so maybe that'll work out for everybody involved. And then finally, they're going to do some new versions of the M16. You know, I don't hate the M16 M21 line. I don't love it more than anything else either. We'll see. Just have to see how that works. And they'll be 12C27, which would be great. Why not make all of these knives up here in 12C27? I definitely prefer it over 8CR 13 MOV. All right. Let's see. Forged by War. We got a couple more knives to touch on, and then we'll be finished off here. So there we go. This guy, I really, really like the look of it. Depending on, you know, what steel it's made out of and all that kind of stuff. Is it G10 or is it some kind of plastic? Carbon steel, forged by war. Okay, so the Seaweed, I think, could be a real win. I probably want to check that one out. This guy, although I appreciate what they're doing, the rasp, it does not speak to me. Like, I just don't like the weird blade shape on this guy, and I don't think it flows well with the handle. Maybe some of you absolutely love the look of that knife. It is made of Aus-8 steel, which again would be better than the steel used in all of these choices above. So lots of knives here. Some of them are very interesting. Okay, let me quickly narrow it down to the ones that I'm most compelled by. So Rakiri, just because of the size, I would like to check that one out. The Gokin, because I like James Williams, I'll probably check that one out. Skip. This guy, although I'm not totally into it, I think we'll see what happens. Depends on, you know, what kind of reports I start hearing when this guy comes out. These two, I definitely want to check both of them out. And finally, that fixed blade looks pretty compelling as well. So those are my picks. The Seaweed, the Maven and Quattro, and the two at the top here, the Gokin and the Rakiri, are the ones that stand out to me as most interesting. I'd love to hear what you guys think down below, what you think of the line in general. So those are the standouts to me. The complaints I have are, as usual, it would be nice to see some better steel. I would love it if they would adopt the 14C28N. I just think that's a great budget steel, or even D2. There are lots of knives coming out in D2 that you know, are right in CRKT's wheelhouse, and because of that, you know, the reality is, if you look at any of these knives, would I say they're better than the steel wheel cut jack? And the answer is going to be probably not. And so, although I like the designs, if it comes down to me recommending these knives over something else, that's going to be really hard to do given the current materials that they're coming out with. So that's my overall take on the new CRKT models. Again, let me know what you think down in the comments below. Thank you to Knife News for doing this story. It's a great story, and I love to see that new stuff. If you're not following Knife News on social media, definitely go and do that so you can be kept up with stories like this as well. I definitely have to say I really appreciate what Knife News is doing and think they're doing a great job. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will talk to you soon.